that situation has been handled by my colleagues very well. The whole story about diplomacy in this country is sometimes a very worrying trend. You see, during the Cold War times, you would need to associate with one side and not the other. But these are not Cold War times, you know. These are times when you play the diplomacy of reciprocity and respect to the international law on diplomacy. So I mean, who are we to be the judge of who is wrong and right? If you ask me, really, who are we, you know, to be the judge? So sometimes I think it's because of issues we've discussed on this panel before, which is who advises, who gives the advice. And there are other issues which you will see later, as you have read in the news, of the nominations for diplomatic posting. Mm-hmm. The same thing. You would wonder, are we concerned about our level of diplomacy? It's very, very important for us to realize that. So when you see statements are being made, you would wonder whether the paper trail was followed or the advice came from all the relevant bodies that should advise. So, I mean, I agree with my colleagues that none of us here, sitting here, can make judgment of who is wrong and who is right, and should we be weighing on one side or the other. There is something called the non-aligned movement that used to exist. But there's also something that positions that are left, right, and there's also center. So sometimes you have to remain in the center to be able to...
Is it necessary to take sides? Probably because there are other influences, other powers at be. Probably we might want to please some other nations.
That's why I'm saying, I mean, sometimes we cannot be the voice of other people. I used the word, the Cold War. Because during the Cold War, you needed to be specific. You needed to be there. And that's why we had something called the non-aligned movement came out. Because you could be in either side. In 19, I think it was 69 when Obote of Uganda decided to come up with a new document, which was called, he called it Move to the Left, you know, Common Man's Charter. And just by doing that, he was overthrown the next year. Because he decided to say something that decided where he was. So I think we also need to agree that we do not, as a developing country, we have to be extremely useful to all our partners who have diplomatic representation in this country, so that we don't alienate our friends.
And Dr. Ngaro, Poghisio raises a very curious and very interesting thing that is happening also as we speak, the vetting of ambassadors. And it speaks to the kind of approach that Kenya has to diplomacy and foreign relations that we perhaps